Boo! Hey, it's Alejandro Kolleeny with a special Halloween literary classic in 3 minutes. This week I'm doing Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Okay, our story begins with Captain Roger Walton writing letters to his wife during a failed voyage to the North Pole. He totally doesn't make it to the North Pole, but his ship encounters a man dying out on the ice. And they bring him in and they nurse him back to health and they go, "Who are you?" And he goes, "I'm Dr. Frankenstein." And Dr. Frankenstein tells his tale. He goes, "I had a happy childhood, but then when I got to medical school, I accidentally read all the wrong books. Oh no, I read Agrippa, I read Albert Magnus, I just read the shittiest books. And they got me to thinking that maybe I could bring people back from the dead." And so everyone who I confessed this idea to, they told me I'd read the wrong books. But I became obsessed with discovering the secret to reanimating dead matter. And so when I felt that I had done enough research, I went out to graveyards and I began digging up bodies and assembling parts. I don't know why I didn't focus on trying to get one intact body, but something about the whole endeavor made me really want to assemble a dude out of a bunch of other dudes. I thought that'd be really cool. So I got my dude made of dudes, and then I brought him back to life in my lab, but as soon as the monster looked at me, I suddenly became horrified with my own creation, and I fled and locked myself in another part of the house until I was sure the monster had left. I then fell into a brain fever where I lay near death for several months, because this was the point in time where people had brain fever. Intense things would happen to people, and then they would fall into brain fever and sometimes die, and that was a cause of death. And so I got over my brain fever, and I got a letter from my father saying that my brother had been strangled to death. It damn near gave me another brain fever, to be honest. So I had to go to Switzerland for the funeral. And one day I was taking a pensive walk up in the mountains, and I looked down, and I saw my own monster sprinting up the mountain towards me. Now, the thing about the monster is that in popular culture, the monster is this hulking, idiotic figure. But in this story, and this is what I really love, the monster actually speaks quite well. He's very articulate, he knows what he's talking about, and the monster starts telling his story. He goes, "After you abandoned me, I wandered out into the woods, and I eventually huddled near this hut and stole some food from a family every day so that I didn't die, but I eventually grew to love the family, and I wanted to be human like them, so I taught myself English by listening to them, and I stole their books so I could educate myself. I read Paradise Lost, and then when I introduced myself, they immediately tried to kill me, and I realized that because I look the way I look, people will always treat me like I'm evil no matter how I actually am. You made me a monster. Everyone wants me to be a monster, so I'm going to give the world what it wants, and that's why I might be a monster, but you're the guy who created me, and I'm going to punish the shit out of you." And Frankenstein's like, "Oh man, how can I stop this from happening?" And the monster's like, "Well, you got to make me a female companion monster. Because I might be a monster, but that doesn't mean, you know." And Frankenstein's like, "Oh, all right, fine, whatever." And so he goes out and he gets more parts, and he's making this monster, he gets about halfway done, and then he's like, "What am I doing?" And he destroys the monster, and he turns around and looks out his window, and the monster is looking at him from outside the window, and the monster's like... So then the monster kills essentially everyone Frankenstein knows. Kills like his dad, kills his best friend, kills his fiance, and Frankenstein just ends up chasing the monster all across the globe, trying to kill him in various places, and that's how he ended up in the tundra. So Frankenstein finishes the story, and Captain Walton's like, "That was some story," and then he leaves for a second, and he comes back in, and the monster is standing there over the corpse of Frankenstein, and the monster goes, "You know, I thought I'd feel better, but I really don't. In fact, I kind of feel worse." And then the monster leaps out the window onto a piece of ice and floats off into the mist. And so that is the original story of Frankenstein. And now that you know it, I encourage you to be a dick about it whenever you get the opportunity.